The first month of baseball season is almost over. Spring is in the air, everyone's sneezing from allergies, and the best part of it all, we get to overreact to everything. Juan Soto? Yep, confirmed. Steve Cohen's charging me $75 so I can sit in the nosebleeds and watch this guy strike out and take walks. I don't know about you guys, but I think the Baltimore Orioles might have assembled the worst pitching staff in baseball history. Can you imagine getting hosed down with water when your team's down 20-0? Like I said, we can look at stats and just overreact to everything. But I think people are getting rightfully excited about one specific player, and that's Trevor Story of the Boston Red Sox. It's been a long time coming for Trevor Story, who hasn't played a full season's worth of games in 4 years. And we're only about a month into this new season, but the $140 million man has already been more productive in 25 games this year than the past 2 years combined. The only real question is, how long will this last? Today, we're going to relive every moment of Trevor Story's odd tenure with the Boston Red Sox to try and answer that question. If you enjoyed today's video, please leave a like on the video and subscribe to the Jolly Olive channel. I'm trying to hit 150,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and I could really use your help, so thanks. In late March of 2022, just a couple weeks before the beginning of the regular season, the Boston Red Sox made a massive splash in free agency. Hey, that sounds kind of familiar. They brought in shortstop Trevor Story on a 6-year contract worth $140 million, making him the last shortstop of a pretty stacked crop to find a home. This also deemed him the official replacement for longtime Red Sox shortstop Xander Bogaerts, who had just 1 year left of control before he too was set to hit free agency following the 2022 season. While Xander Bogaerts would enter an elite company of free agent shortstops the following year, the company that Trevor Story shared wasn't too shabby either, and it makes perfect sense why the Boston front office decided to pounce on him. That same offseason, Corey Seager earned a 10-year contract worth over $300 million, and he ended up bringing the Texas Rangers a World Series trophy. Also, Javier Baez got an $150 million deal, and he ended up in center field. How did that happen? After years of cost-efficient management and prioritizing internal development, Chief Baseball Officer Chaim Bloom had finally made a big splash in free agency, and it's easy to see why he chose Trevor Story. From the get-go, Trevor Story was a superstar on the Colorado Rockies. He became the first player in Major League Baseball history to have a 2-homer game while making their big league debut on opening day. Not to mention that he hit them off former Cy Young winner Zach Greinke for good measure. He followed that up by homering in each of his next 3 games as well, becoming the only first-year player to homer in each of his first 4 games. After he clubbed his 7th home run in just the 6th game of his career, he had already set the record for home runs hit in a team's first 6 games of a season, a mark previously held by 3 Hall of Famers in Larry Walker, Mike Schmidt, and Willie Mays. Even when he was a brand new rookie, Story's combination of home run power and blistering speed put him on the map immediately as one of the most athletic and exciting players in baseball. From 2016 to 2021, which is a 6-season window, Trevor Story's .526 slugging clip ranked in the top 10 of all Major League players, ahead of players who were winning MVP awards in this same window. And he was doing it as an everyday shortstop. His 158 home runs was the highest mark among primary shortstops in this time frame, and only him, Trey Turner, Mookie Betts, and Jose Ramirez managed to rack up over 100 home runs and over 100 stolen bases in this long window. Today's video is obviously focused on Story's tenure with the Boston Red Sox, not the Colorado Rockies, but I wanted to highlight all this because we forget how good Trevor Story was for such a long time. He got that $140 million for a reason, after all. Sure, there were holes to poke in Story's game. He had a clear strikeout issue, one that really hasn't gone away even now. He ranked in the 40th percentile or lower for strikeout rate in every season of his career thus far. At one point, he actually led the National League overall with 191 strikeouts in 2017. He also had some tough years on the defensive side of the ball, like in 2020 where he led all shortstops in errors made. There was also the elephant in the room known as Coors Field, which perhaps could have played a role in inflating Trevor Story's aforementioned power numbers. Despite hitting to an .863 OPS in 6 years as Rockies shortstop, his OPS plus was just 12% better than league average when adjusted for park factors. For reference, Corey Seager and Rhys Hoskins had roughly the same OPS in this same window, but their park adjusted plus factor was nearly 20% better than Trevor Trevor Story's. In road games during this span, he slashed a 752 OPS in roughly 300 games. Compare it to the monstrous 972 OPS he had in over 300 home games in Colorado.
Coors, the banquet beer.
Still, it's hard to argue that Trevor Story wasn't worth this money. He had amassed 140 games in 4 of the 5 full seasons of his career to that point. He was the fastest primary shortstop to reach the 100 home run threshold since Alex Rodriguez. He was coming off a third straight 20 home run, 20 stolen base season in full years, and this was back when 20 stolen bases wasn't just free for the taking. The point of all of this is to say that many baseball fans, including myself, viewed Trevor Story and the Boston Red Sox as a match made in baseball heaven. Like many free agents that sign big deals, Trevor Story would struggle out of the gate for Boston, being that he missed most of spring training and was getting adjusted to life as an everyday second baseman, with Xander Bogaerts still in the picture. In his first 37 games of the season with Boston through May 18th, Story was barely hitting above the Mendoza line with a paltry .613 OPS. Then, he turned it on. In the next game, he raised his OPS by over 100 points. He mashed 3 home runs in a 12-6 victory over the Seattle Mariners to kickstart one of the best weeks of his entire career. Trevor Story won American League Player of the Week, going 10 for 29 with an absurd 7 home runs and 21 RBIs in just a 7-game span, fully announcing his presence as a force to be reckoned with in Boston's lineup. This stretch was the most RBIs a hitter had had in a 5-game window since Alfonso Soriano brought home 18 RBIs for the Yankees nearly 10 years prior. From the beginning of this red-hot week to mid-July, Trevor Story began to look much more like himself at the plate, getting his numbers back to a league average rate near the All-Star break overall. Then, disaster struck. In a July 12th matchup with the Tampa Bay Rays, Story got tied up on an ugly swing against Corey Kluber, suffering a contusion in his right hand that took him out of action. Story's recovery was a painstakingly slow process, as he hit the shelf for the next 7 weeks of the season. The Boston Red Sox, who were 7 games over 500 at the time of the injury, would be 3 games under 500 by the time that Trevor Story returned. And this unfortunately began a cruel cycle of untimely freak injuries for Trevor Story, a player who had displayed no proneness to injury at really any point in their career prior. Trevor Story returned in late August of 2022 and immediately hit the ground running, batting .340 in 54 plate appearances over his next 13 games. But another contusion, this time on his left heel, cut his season short, limiting him to just 94 games total in his first season with Boston. He finished the season above league average offensively despite his injury woes, but his debut season with the Red Sox was underwhelming, to say the least. Story registered a strikeout rate over 30%, which was the highest rate for him in a season since 2017, the same year that he led the National League in strikeouts. With Boston missing the playoffs altogether in 2022 with Xander Bogaerts set to depart in free agency, the pressure was already building for a bounce-back performance for Trevor Story in the 2023 season. Before we go further down the rabbit hole of this baseball saga, I first got to thank the sponsor of today's video, which is DirecTV. If you are trying to maximize your baseball viewing experience, there's no better way to do it than signing on with DirecTV. The 2 biggest things they provide: 1, you'll need no satellite dish, and 2, you're going to get the most optimal, crystal clear quality possible. If you're a rabid baseball fan like me, you know that you don't want to miss a single inning of the action through all 162. Scan the QR code on the screen or click the link down below, directtv.com/johnboy, to take advantage of this offer today. And thank you so much to DirecTV for sponsoring yet another one of my videos. I really appreciate it. They're awesome. And now let's get back to the story of Trevor Story, no pun intended. But the bad news continued piling on before Red Sox fans could gather up any optimism. In January of 2023, the club announced that their $140 million shortstop would undergo surgery on his right UCL. Boston fans wouldn't see Trevor Story resurface with the club until August. Story posted the worst offensive numbers of his career by a large margin in this 43-game sample, barely hitting over 200 with an OPS that was nearly 50% worse than league average. Of players with at least 160 plate appearances in the 2023 season, Trevor Story ranked as a bottom 10 offensive player in all of baseball by weighted runs created plus. And somehow the nightmare continued into the 2024 season, his 3rd year as Boston Red Sox shortstop. Finally healthy again, Trevor Story lasted just 8 games into the season before a diving play at shortstop resulted in another significant injury. A fracture in his right shoulder would mean another surgery for Trevor Story, putting him on the sidelines for another 5 months. When he returned in September, Story was once again not playing at 100%, doing everything in his power to contribute to his new team in year 3 of this deal. Overall, in 2023 and 2024, Story played in just 69 of Boston's 324 regular season games, which is a mark barely over 20% overall. Halfway through this 6-year, $140 million agreement, this contract was unequivocally viewed as a total disaster around the league. And when you're dealing with these 9-figure baseball contracts, most fans know that the front half is where you're really going to make your money back, and the back half is where you're going to get hurt more often than not, with players getting older and their quality of play declining. And that's what has made his 2025 season so far remarkable. Heading into the 2025 season, the Boston Red Sox were finally in a position where they had options if Trevor Story were to go down with an injury again. The organization's farm system was ranked as the best in all of baseball in the preseason, even after dipping into said prospect pool to land Garrett Crochet via trade with the Chicago White Sox. Former number 5 overall pick Marcelo Mayer was set to begin the year at AAA at age 22 as a top 3 prospect in the system. Number 2 prospect Christian Campbell, capable of playing the middle infield as well as the outfield, made the club at a spring training and has already earned himself a lucrative extension. Of the Red Sox top 8 prospects according to Major League Baseball, half of them had experience at shortstop, with the top half just about MLB ready. The pressure was on Trevor Story to not only stay healthy for the first time since his Rockies days, but also perform like one of the best shortstops in the league. Many baseball fans were obviously skeptical of this coming to fruition, but nearly a month into this new season, Trevor Story looks as though he may finally be back. Story already has hit as many home runs as he did in the past 2 seasons combined, despite playing in 40 less games. He has a number of stolen bases without being caught once, and he's one of only 5 players currently with that many steals without a caught stealing on their resume. He's one of just 20 players to already amass 1.0 win above replacement, putting him on pace for his most valuable season since 2019. Currently, Trevor Story has the most home runs on non-fastballs of any MLB player with 5 total. He's mashing left-handed pitching with a batting clip over 500 against southpaws, which ranks 2nd best in MLB. He's currently registering the highest hard hit rate of his entire career by nearly 10%, and the highest expected batting average of his career by nearly 30 ticks. The point of all these stats is to say that Trevor Story appears to be doing all the things he used to do really well back when he was a healthy, everyday shortstop. Story is still dealing with strikeout issues, and his infield defense hasn't been marvelous, but I think Boston fans will take this version of Trevor Story gladly, as long as it means he stays on the field for a full season. Trevor Story remarked to Ian Brown of MLB that trying to battle health every single day can take a lot out of you, and that he's just thankful that he can feel some sense of normalcy once again. So after all this, it really begs the question, how much stock should we put in Trevor Story in the 2025 season? When we really go into depth about the injuries from the past 2 seasons, one was on a diving play, which was a freak accident, and the other was on a check swing on a pitch that was 2 inside. Neither of these injuries were soft tissue or muscle related, things that could be truly scary long term for the shortstop. Do I think that Trevor Story is going to be the exact same guy that he was during his Rockies tenure? I can't say for sure. He hasn't played a full season's worth of games since 2021. He's still getting his feet under him. This could just be a hot start, but overall, the Red Sox are going to need Trevor Story if they're going to compete and try and win the AL East division this year. So I'm rooting for him. Those prospects can wait 1 more year, right? Thank you so much for watching today's video. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate all of you, and I'll see you guys next Saturday for another upload.